You're likely to come across some Imperial blueprints during your gameplay of Dune Awakening, and in this video I want to discuss whether it's worth seeking these out or not. What's up everybody, my name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. Jumping right into it, I would say that anytime you come across an Imperial blueprint that is at the level that you are at, so if you're in copper level products, the Imperial blueprint for a copper level product is likely to be an upgrade for you. If you're in iron level, then the iron tier Imperial blueprints would be comparable or better to what gear you're already in. And as you move into steel and aluminum and so on and so forth, those Imperial blueprints are likely to be as good or better than what you're using, as long as you're at the same tier level of resources. The main source of Imperial blueprints are in the hologram chests. Now, there are a couple of sizes of hologram chests that you can find around the world. However, you are always going to get an Imperial blueprint from these hologram chests, as well as the spice infused resource that you're going to need in order to craft that Imperial blueprint. Once you move out of Haga Basin South and you make it into the eastern or western Vermilius Gap, you can also find these Imperial blueprints in the crashed ships that happen around the map. Some of the holographic chests only have a single item that will spawn in them, so you can re-farm that particular item if you want to. Others have multiple items, like a full set of armor that can spawn inside that chest, so there are times where you will have to return to a specific chest to get the entire set of armor. And if you're looking for a guide to all of the locations in South Haga Basin to find these Imperial blueprints, I've got that guide already uploaded on my channel, and I'll link it in the description of this video. Let's dive into some stats for these armors. So on the left hand side, you can see we have the Scavenger chest piece, and on the right hand side we have Aaron's chest piece. Now these are practically the same armor, they're the same level, both copper level products. On the left hand side, you can see we have an armor value of 36, a dash stamina cost reduction of 6%, and a blade mitigation, that's a damage reduction of 12%. If we look at the Aaron's chest piece, you can see we get a lot more armor value, 63 armor value versus the 36. The dash stamina cost is the same at -6, and the blade mitigation is the same at 12. However, we also get light dart and heavy dart mitigation at 7.5%. So obviously the Aaron's chest piece is better than the Scavenger chest piece. But it's not always going to be that easy. Some of these Imperial blueprints actually have what I would consider to be a downside, or some type of unique ability that actually gives them a negative effect. If we look at the old Sparky Imperial blueprint, it's obviously an upgrade over the improvised power pack. With 13 regen per second and a power pool of 125, it's easy to see that this particular item is better than the improvised power pack. However, the improvised power pack is a tier lower than the old Sparky power pack. If we compare apples to apples with the old Sparky Power Pack and the Power Pack MK1, which would both be copper tier products, you can see that the regen per second is only 1 higher, and then the power pool is actually 25 lower. So there are instances where you really need to look at the numbers for each one of these Imperial blueprints and make a decision on whether that's the right move for you. My personal recommendation for Imperial blueprints that you should get in South Haga Basin would be as many pieces of the Aaron's armor set as you can get. Wearing just one of these pieces, like the chest piece, is going to give you a lot more armor. But the more of those pieces you can get, the better off you're gonna be. You definitely want to get Kalef's Drinker for the increased damage per hit and its exsanguination abilities while you're attacking an enemy, filling your blood bags with blood just by attacking. You definitely want the Hajra Leader John. You are going to be instructed to buy that from the trader at Griffin's Reach Outpost. However, you can find more of those in South Haga Basin in one of the hologram chests. I recommend grabbing at least one before you leave. These are an absolute must, as it gives you more drinks of water than a regular Leader John, and you're not able to unlock the standard schematic for the Leader John until much later on in game. And then I have a couple of honorable mentions. First of all, it's Aaron's Vengeance. This is something that you're going to have to decide if you want to use, because it does change your gameplay style just a little bit. The regular assault rifle is automatic and has a higher RPM, where Aaron's Vengeance is a burst rifle, but you do get a little bit more damage and a larger magazine size. There's also just a smidge more range on Aaron's Vengeance, so this is something that you can decide for yourself if that's a weapon that you want to go after. And lastly, we have the Way of the Fallen, which changes the weapon from being semi-automatic to automatic. It gives you a pretty considerable increase to damage per shot, a bit more RPM, and then a larger magazine size. You will lose a little bit of effective range and a little bit of accuracy, but also have added stability. At the end of the day, from my experience, you don't need any of these Imperial blueprints to survive on Arrakis. However, these Imperial blueprints can tip the scales in your favor, making some of the content just a little bit easier to get through. Big shout out to the Legends of Whack. You're the reason the grind never stops. No fear, no fold. If you want to become a Legend of Whack, click the join button below. And if you don't want to be out of whack, click the video on the screen right now to keep the grind going.